Happy 2021, everybody, and welcome to Healthy Cooking with Marcia here at the West Texas VA Healthcare System. It's so good to be here today. I'm going to make an Italian bean stew or soup, just kind of using foods out of your pantry. I consider the freezer to be one of my pantries, so today I'm using stuff that's just been laying around to make a really good, nutritious, you can count it as a vegetarian soup that's high in protein. When I started thinking about New Year's resolutions back at the beginning of this month, I decided what I probably needed to do is eat more beans. Beans are really, really healthy. The great thing about beans is that even canned beans are equally as healthy as dried beans. So there's a lot of things you can do with beans. And the bean I chose today, because I was making my New Year's resolution, is my favorite bean, and it's a white kidney bean. Years ago, you couldn't find them everywhere. Now you can kind of find them at all the grocery stores. White kidney beans are called Cannelini beans, and they're Italian. They don't really taste like a kidney bean, so that's probably why I like them. I looked at several white beans when I picked this recipe, navy beans, Great Northern beans. The kidney beans, the white kidney beans, were the lowest in sodium. So today we're going to make our recipe very low in sodium. Then you can adjust whether or not you want the salt. If you have congestive heart failure, if you have high blood pressure, if you're just trying to do healthy in 2021, watching your salt is one of those things that you can do. So the first thing I need to do is cook some onions, some celery, and some carrots in my pot over here. Get them warmed up with a little bit of oil. So I've got my carrots and my celery all ready. I went ahead and decided to brown my carrots because I didn't want to do it separately. I've got a little bit of avocado oil in there because I had it on hand, and avocado oil is really good with high temp cooking. Now I'm going to add my onions. Again, most recipes call for like a medium onion. If you have too much onion or you want to stock your pantry, you can chop that onion up and freeze it. A half a cup of chopped onion is equal to like a small onion. So I think I have a little over a cup here. My onions are translucent. Everything's smelling wonderful. Everything looks ready to go. So I've got some seasoning. I've got a little bit of pepper. I've got a little bit of thyme. I had Italian seasoning on hand, so I used a little less thyme and a little more of that Italian seasoning. But generally, this would be thyme and oregano. A little more thyme than oregano. The pepper, and then I used, again, because I'm thinking of my pantry, I used granulated garlic. If you haven't tried granulated garlic and you like garlic, I really encourage you to try it. It changed my life. I love it. It's the most wonderful stuff. So if I don't have fresh garlic on hand, a 1/4 teaspoon of that granulated garlic counts for a clove of fresh garlic. Again, when you're in a hurry to get food on the table, you don't want to be peeling and slicing and mushing with the garlic. So I've got all my seasoning in here. I'm going to just stir that in the pot. You don't want to let those spices get too hot or fry too much for too long because you lose a lot of those good oils. You know, now people talk about essential oils all the time. Well, that's part of what's in a spice that makes it smell and taste so good. Those volatile oils in your spices are very fragile. So next, I've got my white kidney beans. Almost all recipes using canned beans, or that you're going to use canned beans for, you want to rinse those beans. That kind of slimy juice that beans are canned in is not very tasty. That's also where a lot of the salt is, so rinsing those beans gives you a pretty clean, low sodium bean. So this 2 cans of the white kidney beans, and you can see it's a humongous This is my kitchen, so I'm just going to show you how big that bean is. That is my absolute favorite. It's just so tasty to me. And then another little trick when you're doing a recipe like this is to puree one of those cans of beans, and that instantly makes your soup thicker and have more body and look like a soup that's been cooking for hours and hours, when this is only going to take us 20 minutes. So there's my pureed can. Ooh, really pretty. And what I did with that is I rinsed it off just the same as I did that other can, but I used a little immersion blender, you know, those little stick blenders that were really popular years ago, and people made smoothies and stuff, and they just stick that immersion blender carefully into that can of beans. So I'm not really dirtying anything up but a knife, a spoon, a pot, and a couple of little bowls. So a real easy recipe. Now I've got some low sodium vegetable broth, and I checked various different vegetable broths. I'm trying to make mine totally vegetarian. Chicken broth would probably be the best in here, a little lower sodium chicken broth. Look at your labels. If you're really trying to go low salt, some brands are a little bit lower than others. This is going to be about 4 cups of vegetable broth. I think the key for this recipe will be just letting it cook a little bit longer. Some of these recipes call for spinach, some of them call for arugula, some of them call for baby kale. I'm using adult kale. So it's a pretty tough little rib, but I'm going to go ahead and I'll just let it cook just a little bit longer. This is what really makes this soup Italian, is to have these greens in here. So we just want a couple of cups of this kale. And if you want to measure out, I know for me, I don't know what I would do with just another handful of kale. So for my house and my family, probably just going to use the whole bag. We've got that kale in there. I'm going to stir it carefully. We're going to let it all simmer for just a couple of minutes. All right, everybody, we've simmered our soup. We know that kale is, oh, it just really looks good. That kale is nice and tender. I think it's ready to serve. I'm kind of hungry. I'm ready for lunch. And the last little crowning touch, also out of our freezer, Parmesan cheese. And you can use the stuff in the jar that you might use on pizza or in spaghetti. But I keep this grated Parmesan cheese in my freezer. It freezes great. It thaws out great. You never know. And it's just so good as a topper. This is the one thing that keeps it from being entirely vegetable based. But Parmesan cheese has a lot of good nutrition, really high in protein, really high in calcium. So I like to use it. And it makes me feel maybe not necessarily like I'm in Italy, but at least like I'm, you know, at the local Italian restaurant that I love. And that's all we have today. So here it is, my kale cannellini bean, adapted from several good recipes on the internet, soup that was easy to make. It used all my pantry basics. I was able to do it without really going to the store, except for that kale, but I got that along with other things that I would have to get. Really appreciate you joining us again this month, and we're just going to keep doing this every month. Remember, I am one of the dietitians here, so contact us, reach out to us here at the West Texas VA. If you would like to join our Healthy Teaching Kitchen class, we teach diabetes class, we teach weight management called the MOVE program classes. We're teaching all of these weekly in a pretty COVID-safe environment. We're doing it all via the computer or via the telephone. So please give us a call. Thank you so much. Enjoyed spending time with you today. Thanks.